For week 14's Preppin data, we're looking at how we can reshape our data so that we can build some nice spider charts or radar charts in Tableau Desktop. So if we look at our input file here, our spider traits measurements, then first of all, we can immediately see that there are some fields that we just don't need as part of the solution. And so I've unticked them here, which is something that I never really remembered to do. So I thought it was worth mentioning in one of these videos that it's easy to just deselect fields that you definitely aren't going to use. And you can see those changes here as well, the ones that I've removed. So it's easy to undo, but just something I thought I'd mention. So first of all, we are going to be doing a lot of filtering here. So we wanted to get rid of any nulls basically. So what I did first, well, we want to get rid of any values that aren't numeric. So some of them had stars in them or underscores or just one numbers. So to make it easier, I changed all of these fields into numbers. So did a conversion of the data type, and then I just clicked on the nulls and excluded them for each of them. I thought about, doing some kind of different methodology, but this was the best way I thought, because if any of these traits were missing, I would want to exclude that specimen completely from our analysis. So that was important, really, that I did it in this way, rather than if I pivoted it first, then I might have only excluded that measurement and not the whole specimen. There we are, that's what I'm trying to explain. So next, we are looking at species. We only want to have species included that have more than 10 specimens measurements. So the way that we go about finding out this information is we do an aggregation on the species, we group by, and we count the number of rows. And then we want to filter out, we only want to have those which have 10 or more rows. And we then join these species back onto our original data set over here, and you can see all of these specimens are then excluded from our analysis. Next, we're just going to take away that number of rows because we don't need it anymore. We could probably take away this species as well, but I'm sure I'll do that at a later date anyway. Then what's next is we're going to do some pivoting of all these different traits, so they are coming from being columns into being rows. And then we rename them to be trait and value. And then from there, there we go. That's where I've got rid of that extra species field. And I've done a bit of renaming, cleaning up of the sex field as well to make those capital letters. And now from our species, we're just removing those underscores because they're ugly. I'll do that here as well in the trait. And then we're doing a little bit more aggregation. So we're finding out those average values for those specimens because that's what we're interested in. We don't care about the individual specimens, we care about the average for their species of each of these traits. So that's the aggregation done there. And then finally, we're going to be calculating the normalized value. And so to do that, we're using some LODs. So the way that I built these up was to go onto the little dots here and create a calculated field of a fixed LOD. So we were grouping by the specimen, by the trait. And then we want, for example, the minimum value or the maximum value. And that's how those calculations came into life, basically. And there was just a bit of renaming there as well as we go through. And then to calculate that normalized value, we're just doing the value minus the minimum value for that trait over the maximum value minus the minimum value. And we're doing that across all the different species because we want to group on a specific species because we want our spider radar charts to have the same scales, basically. So I hope that was easy enough to follow, and I hope you enjoyed working with a different sort of data set this week.